It's Britain, innit?
Britain, the only thing standing in the way of Hitler and world domination. By 1939, Hitler owned many countries and was on his way to taking over the world. Each country fell to Hitler and the Nazis, until Britain. Hitler's plan was in 3 phases.
My plan. Phase 1. Knock out the Royal Air Force, RAF, and its bases. Get control of the air and sea land across the Channel. Follow the plan to drive out Poland and the lower countries, France. Destroy communication and transport. Above all, get command of the air.
Oh my God.
Phase 2. Pulverize the Dover coastline with dive bombs. Drop parachutes with footmen all over the airfield and establish beach huts. No, beach. Where's the beach? Phase 3, the actual invasion. High-speed barges send spearheads of armed might to surround and destroy all opposition. That's all there is to it. Conquer Britain. Force the surrender of the British fleet.
Hitler's plan was simple: destroy Britain, whatever the cost. Crush that little island and its stubborn people, and the way was open to world conquest. Hitler stood where Napoleon stood almost 100 years before and looked across the English Channel to the one fighting obstacle that stood between Hitler and total world domination. This insignificant island was the one thing standing in Hitler's way. Hitler was confident he could do what Napoleon could not: defeat Britain.
Where Napoleon failed, I shall succeed. I shall land in the shores of Britain! Today we see the English troops on the white coast of Dover. Can you see? Can you see? Can you see? Cut! Where is my camera crew? You fired! Now can you see? See? There we go. We must intrude and we must break them. Break them like we've never done before. We need to break their spirit. Look at them. They will not expect it. Let's kill them! Kill them, I say! Kill them! Yeah!
Britain also had an army, but it was an army dragged from the Sea of Dunkirk. They had few weapons, as these had been left behind on the roads of France. Tanks, guns, motorised equipment, all abandoned to save the one priceless item: men. Churchill inspired the hearts of the British public by giving speeches.
We shall defend our land, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight them on the landing grounds, in the fields and in the streets, and on the hills. We shall never surrender.
Adolf Hitler and Winston Churchill were locked in a constant battle for the skies of Britain. The fate of their countries was in the balance, so every battle decision made had to be carefully considered before decided. Churchill and Hitler both knew that if they lost the war, exile was a likely outcome if they weren't killed first. Morrison shelters were named after Herbert Morrison, the then Minister of Home Security. It was an indoor steel table shelter assembled from a kit of parts and bolted together inside the house. Having a shelter in your house must have calmed your nerves, but did they really work effectively?
As the Blitz wore on, the British citizens eventually began to grow tired of disturbing their sleep to move to a shelter. So to resolve this issue, the government decided that anyone earning less than that of £5 a week would have an Anderson shelter, a structure made of metal plating buried beneath mounds of earth. Many people lived out most nights in the shelter, so provisions would need to be accessible at all times, e.g. first aid kit, food, sleeping arrangements would need to be made. The speed at which someone ran to a shelter could save their life.
Naturally, Churchill was in charge of the British Army Air Force, which had 544 airmen and 1,547 aircrafts. However, their opposition, on paper, the Luftwaffe, appeared to have the advantage in numbers of planes, pilots and experience. But in fact, the two air forces were evenly matched. But bombs would hit homes and schools too, so children would be in danger. The government tried at the start of the war to empty the cities of children and mothers. This was evacuation, to protect them from air raids. Every window had blackout curtains which were drawn at night. If not, the RAP warden came along shouting, "Put that light out." Blackout curtains stopped the light from rooms showing outside. There were no streetlights either. The idea was to stop light from towns, guiding enemy planes to drop bombs.
There were many areas known to suffer badly from the Blitz, but as Churchill represents, the whole of Britain was at stake. Many areas were suffering in the Blitz, main areas being London and Coventry. Also, all of the British citizens had to help and contribute in the war. Invented by Robert Watson Watt, the radar was an important tool used in the Battle of Britain. Being able to track incoming German warplanes meant that the Fighter Command now had enough time to get airborne and defend Britain. The radar stations were situated around the southeast of England. However, knowing how valuable they were to the Fighter Command, the Germans began to attack the radar stations, but these attacks were insignificant, so the radar still prevailed. It was the cruel reality they lived their war life by. Surviving was determined by chance, as any property was at risk of being bombed. Citizens were to die in their beds, never to see sunrise again.
As the war continued on, food became scarce and large amounts of the country depended on produce from farms. However, this wasn't enough to sustain, so rationing had to be introduced, which meant that queues took longer as everyone's books need to be officially stamped. And only the essentials like eggs, milk and bread were distributed on a regular basis. However, treats like chocolate and other common things we eat today couldn't be purchased easily.
Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.